Get things started here in a couple seconds, guys, as everybody trickles in. I'm having a little bit of technical difficulties from Alex, but we'll go ahead and get things started here in a couple of minutes.
Yes, hello,
been working
everyone.
On these goals. Pretty excited to see mine kind of getting along. Jay, I know you've been working pretty hard on your raise goals.
All day, every day.
Are you still cooking and getting to the workouts 4 times a week? I know when I actually see it on paper, it's a lot easier for me to say, okay, I need to get to the gym. I've only done 2 out of 4. I want to check all those boxes. I want to get, I want to get my full point. So it's definitely been helping me.
Yeah, that's right. 1,000,000%. Going today at 5 o'clock after this webinar. I didn't go Monday or Tuesday. We've been, sliming it with work. So hopefully with the remaining of the week, I'll be able to catch up and get them in. So yeah, and cooking at home, it's been great. Love it.
Perfect. Well, guys, as we mentioned, we're going to go ahead and use the chat feature today. So if you are just trickling in, please go ahead and use the chat feature and go ahead and let everybody know what your name is, where your market is, and what your Instagram handle is, or what the best place is to get in touch with you. We'd love to know who is in the room. And that way, if you see somebody who's nearby or in the market where you are, you can kind of connect and grow with them as well, right?
That is correct.
So I'll go ahead and throw mine in there just so that everybody can find me. I know Jay will throw hers in as well, and feel free to go ahead and use that. Also, guys, today's subject is kind of how to flip during uncertain times. And so what we would love for you to do as well is, if you guys have any questions about flipping homes during a pandemic, during a crisis, during a time like now, we can go ahead and use the chat feature for all of your Instagram information and things like that. And let's use the Q&A feature for all of your specific questions today. We're gonna get all the questions that you guys have answered today. So use that Q&A if you have any questions about how to successfully run your business or flip during this time. Alex, how are we doing? Are you able to hear us?
Yeah, can you guys hear me now?
I hear you loud and clear, man. Happy to hear you, and happy to have you on the telecast.
Yes.
What's up, everybody? How's everybody doing?
Yay, wonderful.
Yeah, we're doing good. I know Marlon down in Aguas Calientes, he's doing good. Alex, you said it's raining for you in Hawaii right now. Jay and I are actually coming up on one of our best weather weeks in a while. It's going to be 70 or 80 degrees out here in LA for the next week.
Yeah, I woke up and it was pouring rain here in Maui, but it only lasted the morning. The sun's out now.
You're bringing us all that good weather.
Tough life in paradise, man. It rains once a year, right?
Yeah.
Super tough, but somebody has to do it, you guys.
There you go. Well, guys, again, welcome everybody to the 6th week of Ask Alex. We've been answering live questions from you guys for 6 weeks in a row. We're growing the community here. We're hoping that everybody's getting some value out of this and able to kind of get their questions answered. So what we're going to do is we're going to jump into some questions in just a little bit. Again, use the chat feature today if you want to go ahead and put in your name, your market, and where you're trying to sell homes, or where it is that you're doing that, and your Instagram handle where we can find you, and we'll go ahead and connect on there as well.
Yes, thank you. And then also do remember today's is investing in unsure times. So if you do have any questions regarding the topic for today, please do not hesitate to ask in the chat box or question box, and we'll try to get to them at the end.
Jay, if people stick around, we're going to be announcing something at the end of the meeting today, right?
That is correct. Yes, please stick around towards the end of our webinar. We are going to be announcing next week's special guest for Ask Alex. So make sure
we're doing our second special guest. Pretty excited. I don't know if you guys have seen in the chat, but Camo High is in the building. They were our first special guest. They're over at TK Investment Properties on Instagram. Make sure you give them a follow. They're an incredible couple that's just absolutely crushing their goals. And we were very blessed to have them on and share with us here in the community. Stay till the end of the meeting today. We're announcing our second special guest. Pretty excited about that one. Jay, we've also been sending out the emails. So if you guys have been keeping it up, you should be getting an email with a copy of each of the webinars. So if you do miss it, just check your emails and you should have a copy of that webinar recording. And Alex has those live on his YouTube channel. So if you are bored and out for some exercise and want to tune back into some stuff you missed, check out Alex on YouTube, like, subscribe. It's Alex Camacho TV. So without any further ado, Alex, let's kick it over to you for a quick welcome.
Yeah, definitely. So you guys, I just want to say again, thank you for your time. This is quickly becoming my favorite day of the week because I get to answer all you guys' questions. I get to interact with you guys in this format. I feel like our format is a little bit different than some of the other webinars I've kind of tuned in on and been part of because we're doing part teaching, part networking. So we're really doing everything we can, and just give credit to my team. You know, Marlon, Will, Jay. I would not be able to do this, you guys, without them. So definitely, you know, give them credit. Definitely give them, you know, follow on their Instagrams and all that because they're really the boots on the ground in LA. They're the ones making things happen over there while I'm in Hawaii. So really, I just appreciate you guys. So I'm ready to jump in, answer your questions, you guys, and get going. So why don't we start with the question number one?
Okay. Okay. Oh, Marlon, you go. Sorry.
Yeah, if you like, I can read our next question from someone. They're right here asking. It is related to what we all been experiencing. So this year, Alex, they're asking, what, if anything, are you changing with your business model right now with COVID-19?
Well, that's a great question because in business, you got to be able to make adjustments. And what we're seeing here, we're seeing a market that we've never, ever seen, which is extremely, extremely low rates, lower than we've ever seen them. And we're seeing extremely low inventory. So that being said, we're being more aggressive this year. Actually, we just had a marketing meeting this morning with the team, and we're going to be raising our marketing spending a month by $5,000. We were only spending a couple thousand a month before, and now we're going to be spending closer to like $7,000 a month on our marketing. So we're going to be more aggressive. We feel that the type of properties that we're acquiring and working on, which are cosmetic, entry-level type of properties, those are not going to go down in value or price-wise. So we're being very aggressive right now, buying deals a little bit tighter. Typically we want to make about 50,000 per deal, but now we're reducing that down to like 35, 30 on the right deal, 40, because we know that there's so little inventory. By the time we're back onto the market in a couple months, there's going to be a bidding frenzy with rates still being low.
That's that's definitely pretty relevant. I know a lot of people right now wondering about the crisis, wondering about the pandemic. But one thing we do know for sure, Alex, is there is a low amount of inventory, and these rates are as low as we have ever seen them. So, if anything, we are definitely talking about some unprecedented times right now. Let's jump into our next question here. What are some of the changes that you're seeing in your business model because of COVID-19?
Well, definitely the changes we're seeing in the business model, more than anything, is that we're tracking what's happening with inventory and the interest rates. Because again, that's like, we're not in a normal environment. So we don't see prices going down this year unless interest rates change. But we do see them potentially going up. So if you were going to invest in real estate right now, think about that. Like, prices could actually be going up this year, despite what's going on, because there is a demand for housing. People don't want to be in apartments because of COVID. And overall, people just want a little bit more space, and they could afford more with the rates being so low.
Great. I mean, definitely the rates, we go back to the rates again and again and again. And historically, Alex, you've been doing this for what, 4 years? Have you ever seen rates this low? How are the rates comparatively in Hawaii? Is it pretty similar?
Yeah.
This has to be pretty unprecedented times.
Yeah, rates have really never been this low. I remember back when I was in the mortgage business, we were commonly selling interest rates in the 5 and 6% range. So they're well below, like, I think below 3%, and there's talks that they even might go lower. I do remember in 2018, there was a spike in rates about 1%, and it did affect the market a lot. So you just got to keep a close eye on that. If they raise rates, then there's definitely going to be an effect on the market. But they're talking about keeping rates low all the way until 2022, 2023.
Yes, definitely. And LA and Hawaii or LA is a main attraction as well. So, okay, bringing it to our next question. We do get this question a lot, so we're going to ask, what is your advice for someone looking to get in on their first deal?
Well, the number one thing that I recommend is define what a deal is, because what is a deal for you might not be a deal for me, and vice versa. Are you looking to house hack? Are you looking to flip houses? So first things first, define what a deal is. A lot of times you have to actually go and look at inventory, go look at properties that have sold, look at prices in your market that you want to invest in, go look at houses. So really define what a deal is. Get a really good idea of what that is for you. Once you've done that, you need to go ahead and, what are your strengths in deal finding? Are you great on the phones? Can you cold call? Are you great on internet marketing? Can you do some internet marketing, get some internet leads? Are you friends with a lot of realtors? So defining what kind of deal you're going to get, what kind of deal you want, and then defining how you're going to get that deal, right? It was finding your source. So once you find out which way you're going to, source the deal, and then also what kind of deal you're looking for, then it's just a matter of taking action and execution at that point, because there's no need for analysis paralysis anymore. You've already figured out what you're looking for and how to get it. So go do it.
So Alex, again, those are questions that I feel like come up very often, is how do you get that first deal? And you can't get any deal without taking action, right? Before we dive into any other questions, I just want to go back. We actually had a couple of questions come in on the Q&A chat. Kayvon is wondering, how are you allocating that additional ad spend? So I know you mentioned we, kind of increased our ad budget, our marketing budget, and if you don't mind just kind of diving in from our meeting this morning, like how are we breaking that spending down?
Sure. So we're breaking it down between internet advertising, cold calling, and using Deal Machine, which is going to be a combination of direct mail to specific properties. So essentially, it's kind of split between those three. Which are going to be some Google, Bing, Facebook ads, and then it'll be the Driving for Dollars, which is Deal Machine. We have to spend about $1,000 to $1,500 a month on that, and then we're going to hire a new cold caller. Although we already do cold calling ourselves within the team, and we do have people that are interns that are helping us cold call, we're going to be hiring another full-time telemarketer by the end of the month to be cold calling full-time. So it's across those three channels.
And, that kind of answers Kevin's question as well. I know Kevin tuning in all the way from the East Coast, the great state of Massachusetts. We appreciate you, man. But in terms of the favorite strategy for marketing, you just heard it right there from Alex. And Jay and I are the boots on the ground. We're doing the cold calling. We're doing the Driving for Dollars. We're doing some MLS leads. And a combo of those is how we're able to kind of make those offers a day. So jumping back into some of our questions, Alex, when you're thinking about buying a single family residence with an FHA loan, adding an ADU to it and then maybe refinancing it back into a conventional loan for some possible rental cash flow, is that a strategy that you're, a fan of? Do you think that's something that people can do?
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of that. If I could go back, I would definitely start with something like that. So that's a great strategy to not only get your housing for a reduced price, but then have a end play, right? Where you're buying a house, you're buying it with low money down through the FHA loan programs, and then you're adding a second unit to the property that will then become a potential for rental there. And then once you have that already done, you would need to go ahead and refinance because you have a higher value, and then you can reduce your payment and make it cash flow. Now, what I will say is this, that typically you're going to put a down payment of only 3.5% on an FHA loan, but then to do an ADU, it's costing typically, about $100,000. So if you're going to go with that strategy, you do have to have enough for the down payment, and then also the rehab for that, or the construction cost for that accessory dwelling unit. For those of you that don't know what ADU stands for, it's often called a granny flat or mother-in-law suite or casita, but it's basically adding a second unit to a existing single family residence. And I would definitely recommend, if you are going to do that, that you also focus or try to buy a property in a better neighborhood with higher rents. If you're doing that type of deal in like lower income area, you don't have as much upside potential, is I guess what I'm trying to explain. So if you are going to buy it, then buy it in an area that does command relatively good, tenant pool, good, rental rates.
Yes, amazing answer, Alex. I know that's super popular, especially in LA, which, high mortgages, a lot of people will want to build that ADU, to compensate for their mortgage. So great answer. Great.
I forgot to mention one thing. Sorry, Jay. Also, when you're doing the ADU, just remember that you have to do some research on the ADU because they're not all created equal. You can do an ADU to an existing attached garage. You can do an ADU to a detached garage, or you can actually build a completely separate brand new construction ADU altogether. And it really depends. So do some research on that because some are going to be obviously easier to do than others. And the range of cost can be, $50,000, $75,000 difference based on the structure itself. So I think you need to do enough research to be able to go on and buy that type of property that's going to fit the overall goal. And so just make sure that you're doing research on that.
Jay, what do you think about that house we saw today? Do you think it had a couple of casitas on it or what?
Multiple casitas, Will.
Cool.
Yes, it was great. Could definitely fit quite a good amount of people. It was great. All right, next one, number 5. Do you ever work with family or friends?
Yeah, so I have worked with family and friends. I worked with my twin brother on a couple of projects. I've worked, my mother and father helped me a little bit with the books and some project management. But I think it just really depends on if you guys have, the roles and goals. We talk about that a lot because it's relevant with collaboration. What are the roles for each party and what are the goals for each party? And if you continue to use that as a roadmap, you won't get sidetracked because sometimes with the level of respect you have for friends or family, it's easier to cross that line and cross that, that border that you wouldn't cross with somebody that isn't your friend or your family member. So just make sure that you kind of get everything out in the open. I have found that setting expectations is, really the best that you can do on any, working with anybody, whether that's friends or family or other people that you're working with, just making sure that the expectations are set and that way everybody knows what they should be doing.
Great. Expectations, we always kind of talk about it. You've mentioned it multiple times, the roles and goals. As long as you're aligned, it doesn't matter if you're working with family, friends, and acquaintance, make sure that you're both aligned and understand what your roles are and what your goals are. And I think it's a lot easier to come out positively. So,
and if I could add to that real quickly, Will, like when we spoke and we were first talking about working together, your goal was like, I want to, become a full-time investor and I want to do my first house hack this year. Both of those are goals that I felt that I could help you accomplish. And then
we started off as friends, right?
And we started off friends. And then you told me, and I told you my goals, and they aligned with what your goals were.
And I said, hey, I think I can help you get to your goals. So it was roles and goals and alignment on those goals that I think, it doesn't matter, family, friend, whoever it is, roles and goals can really help you out with that.
Exactly.
So guys, I'm going to launch a quick poll for you real quick. It should be popping up in your screen. And we just want to know, what do you guys want to see more of during these webinars? Do you enjoy the question and answer like today? Are you interested in seeing some more special guests, some of Alex's friends that he has in his network? Do you want us to analyze some of the past deals that Alex has done? Do you want us to look at analyzing some potential new deals? And you guys can choose up to 2 of these topics. Please just limit it to 2. Do you want to see more of Alex's business systems? Do you want us to break down the marketing budget, how we're doing that, where the spend is going? If you tuned in a couple weeks ago, Alex was live on the phone with a real estate agent. Do you want to see us on the phone with sellers and agents, or do you want Alex to kind of dive in a little bit more on his mindset? So go ahead and let us know via the poll what you guys are thinking, what you guys want to see more of. This is, again, it's for you. We guys appreciate you guys taking the time to come out here, and we're really happy that you guys were able to join us. So we'll continue on with the questions and let you guys go ahead and finish up that poll, all right?
And this next question, Alex, in the meantime, it's the person here is asking, do you have a title guy that you will recommend? I guess we can share that information with the person who asked and also everyone else who attended this meeting.
Yeah, so my main title guy right now is Devin Agidi. He's a rock star. He's helped me out on multiple transactions. The reason a title person is important to your business, you guys, as real estate investors, because sometimes or oftentimes when we're dealing with these distressed properties, these distressed situations, the title work can be a little tricky. Who's on the title? How many loans are on there? Is there any extra liens aside from the loan? And also the title person, they've been around the block, they get paid in volumes. So they're seeing hundreds of transactions. So they can help educate you. They can help tell you what's going on in the market. They're a valuable piece of your business. So definitely reach out to Devin if you have any questions, because having a solid title person that you can rely on to do due diligence on your opportunities is very important in deal flow and creating deals.
Yes, 100%. Well,
so diving in here, what are your thoughts on going out of state? If you are from an area where it's really competitive, what are your thoughts on maybe going out of state to invest?
I have no problem with it. I actually am looking at some investments myself personally out of state. I do prefer though, and I recommend that you first and foremost look in your backyard, see what's going on, get an idea of who's doing what. Just do enough research to validate whether it's best for you to go out of your marketplace or not. It's all preference at the end of the day. I mean, there's a million ways to skin a cat or 1,000 ways to skin a cat, and you just have to pick your way. But for me, it was flipping in my market, and I believed I could do it. But I think it just has to meet your goals. Like, what are your goals? Like, okay, you want to create some passive income, and you have some boots on the ground in a different state. Maybe that might fit your goals. If you don't have enough time, and it's you're able to do the investing remotely. I mean, either way, it's difficult. So if you're going to choose a difficult path, you might as well at least explore locally first, and then make sure that, because I even remember recently I had a friend of mine say, oh, I can't buy a duplex for less than $500,000 in LA. And I said, okay, well, why don't we verify that? Because that's what you believe. So let me go ahead and check, because I'm not sure, and because I wasn't. So I looked online and I found several duplexes that were purchased around low 500,000s in LA County that were bought by FHA buyers, first-time home buyers, and that blew his mind. He's like, oh, wow, like I didn't imagine that I could buy a property for that price, but it's possible. But he in his head, he already had it figured out that I can't do it. It doesn't exist. And then I wasn't sure. So we looked and we definitely found, made sure that was not correct.
that is a great answer, Alex. Love it. Amazing. A lot of people do say that for LA, that it is hard to invest here because it is a lot more expensive. So yeah, amazing answer. And you never know unless you try. So action. Next question right now is, we get this a lot. We've built a really great team, super thankful and fortunate. So best way to build and find a flip team.
Yeah, definitely. So you definitely need multiple people on your team. So it's all about finding the right pieces for your team. And my broker, my listing agent, my friend, my colleague, Moises, he's my broker / listing agent. He's also an investor. Shout out to him. He's amazing. But really what you want to look for is somebody that understands your business. And that's why I had to look for, because I had several listing agents that I worked for in the past that wanted to charge me a regular commission. And I'm like, look, I'm handing you a listing that's rehab that needs to sell. Like, I can't pay you a normal commission, because the standard as an investor is just paying a flat fee. So I was, I had to kind of interview, look around, and then I found my friend Moises. He's an investor. He's a mortgage broker. He's also an agent. And so he understands what I'm trying to accomplish, and he's working with me. So I only pay him a flat fee of 1% or $5,000 for every house he sells for me. Now, I have given him some bonuses on stuff he's done really well on for me, but it's part of the profit kind of. So I'm not going to hand over another $5,000, $10,000 a month to somebody for doing it kind of somewhat of an easy job, especially right now too. There's not that much inventory. So I would say, look in your network, talk to people that understand investing, so that way they don't think that you're just trying to lowball them with how much you want to pay them for the listing commission on flip deals. And also you need access to MLS as an investor. So if they can give you access to MLS, kind of a win-win, because you're giving them something, they're giving you something. That's the definition of win-win. So I would just definitely say interviewing, looking around for someone that understands your business. Now, when it comes to lenders, I have found the best lenders, hard money and private money, by referrals. Just finding people that have funds available that are not using it, finding lenders that are working primarily with investors, finding brokers that have worked and funded fix and flip deals before for other investors. So just look around and see who people recommends. I guarantee you, if you talk to 5-10 people in your market about what lenders they're using, chances are you'll probably get the same person from 2 different people, and that's probably going to be the person that's the top of your list, because lenders are so important in helping us get these deals done. So I say referrals would be number 1 for that. Contractors is one of those things that is also referrals. I found the best contractors by talking to other investors in my market, to other people that are doing deals. And they don't have to be exactly the same. They don't have to be other fix and flip investors. They can be buy and hold. They can be other type of investors, because ultimately you just want to attract and be around other contractors that, again, understand that you're not a retail regular homeowner trying to do a remodel. You're trying to do a full remodel on the property. So, and then lastly on the contractors is I've heard this tip and I've used it once successfully, which is going to Home Depot early in the morning, seeing what contractors are there. Typically those guys are there early in the morning. Those guys are great contractors. And then you could also ask some of these cashiers and workers at the pro desk of Home Depot, because they know these contractors go back in all the time. So they know who are the best contractors typically. So you could ask the employees there at the hardware or, at Home Depot store. So there's that. And then finally, I think there's a dumpster diving, right? Where you're looking in neighborhoods that you want to invest in. And if you see active crews out there, you can stop and get their information and see if they have bandwidth to do another deal. And then, what their kind of rates are typically, because they're already doing a full rehab in the neighborhood you want to invest in. So that'd be another great way. And then also title, we just talked about that. You talked to my guy, Devin, but just understand that's another important piece, because you lean on them for due diligence on the title of properties you're pursuing. And then finally, escrow. I'm working with the same escrow officer I was working with back in the mortgage business. I mean, I'm a creature of habit. A lot of us are, but she's not the least expensive escrow company to work with, but every time I've gone to a different escrow company, something goes wrong, or they don't have my back, or there's some issue that they take forever to resolve. And so I've always gone back to Gabby, because she's amazing and she gets the job done, and I can trust her and rely on her getting it done.
That's solid. I mean, yeah, we talk about it all the time. It's the team, and there's even a chat coming in, all the way. Shona's asking like, hey, Alex, can you manage a flip with just a scrappy team that you're kind of building on your own that don't have a contractor's license? And you just kind of nailed that right on the head. If you go to Home Depot and you tag a few people together and say, cool, this is your guy that's always coming in and doing plumbing. This is the guy that's always coming in and doing electrical. If I need those 2 things and I plug those 2 guys together, I might end up with some pretty good work. So, again, I think explaining the team and how important those 5 elements are to your business is very helpful for some people. So let's talk about somebody who's just starting. Like, let's say they don't have that whole team in place yet. And let's say they even have no capital, 0 capital. How would they go about getting started in real estate investing?
Well, first of all, I think you got to get educated. I mean, you can't take action if you don't know what you're doing or have a good idea or overview of the way the business works. So I would think number 1, like what strategy, get the knowledge, right? Bigger pockets, reading the right books, Flip Your Future for Ryan Pineda, just getting reading and listening to enough information so you got an idea of the way deals work, business works. Once you have that down, then you want to pick a strategy. For me, it was flipping, because I had been an agent before. I had I've seen people flipping houses. I thought I could be a great house flipper. So that's what the strategy I picked. I wasn't trying to buy apartment buildings and then also syndicate and also buy mobile home parks. Like, it's just like, I'm going to flip entry-level houses. And then with that income, I'm going to buy apartment buildings. So, pick your strategy and then go ahead and take action. So for me, I found somebody that I could go work for. So I took action. I'm like, hey, this is what I want to do. I got to go work for a house flipper. So I went and applied for jobs, and I went to go find a job for a house flipper. So the purpose is, is really you're figuring out where you fit into this whole real estate investing puzzle, and then going and taking action. Because if you find a good enough deal, once you understand what a good deal is, and once you take enough action, then you could find partners to fund the deal. You could wholesale the deal. if it's a deal in Hawaii or in California, I'm happy to partner up with you on the deal if it makes sense. So there's this saying that money finds great deals and great deals find money, which is true.
All right, awesome. Great answer, Alex. So basically what I got out of that is to basically focus on one thing. We do offer one-on-one coaching calls. Just a reminder for some of you beginning new investors that are really trying to find their way and their foot into the door. You can send us a message or go on Alex's Instagram. It's on there as well. But what I got, sometimes people are wanting to do flips, burrs, house hacks. It's all over. So basically what I think is just try to focus on one thing, get really good at it, and then move on to the next thing. All right, so that moves on to the next thing. So tax season is coming up soon, so we all love that. How do you avoid capital gains taxes?
Great question. So obviously I'm going to disclose that I'm not a tax professional, but I do have a great CPA, so I'll definitely reach out to Matt. We'll drop his information there on the chat. But if you're making a significant income, like 6 figures and multiple 6 figures, you actually can get paid and you save money by buying more real estate and by using depreciation, bonus depreciation. So that's why one of my big goals this year is to buy a 10-unit apartment building to help reduce my tax liability. So you could actually end up not paying any taxes and you're getting paid to buy more real estate. So it's like that balance of let me make a good income and then let me help wash that out or neutralize it by buying stuff that I'm going to hold on to and then depreciating the asset over a faster period of time compared to the traditional 27.5 years, I think it is, that you typically would depreciate an asset. So just definitely it is possible, and that's what the wealthy do. They pay very little taxes because they're using the tax code to their advantage, and that's what we all have to learn and use and implement to grow our wealth.
Yes. And then I know that some people were asking about CPA and that. So Alex, I know you did mention your friend, Matt.
Yeah, Matt.
So I will actually put that into the Dropbox now. So if you want to, you can reach out to him, or if you have any questions, obviously don't ever hesitate to reach out to us. Next
Very
question.
well, moving on. This next question, Alex, has to do when you have too many things going on and it's hard to stretch yourself thin and be on top of all of them. This person is wondering, when you have 3 flips or more going on at once, how do you manage your the construction process?
That's a great question. A lot of people ask about the rehab. So the number one thing I recommend the rehab is that you get a very thorough scope of work and plan going at the beginning part. Some of the mistakes I've made is just we close on the property and we're excited. We're just getting after it right away. But there's a lot of value to taking on the project and starting and taking a week if you need to plan the project out, do a full scope of work, walk it with multiple contractors. I always get 3 bids on all of my projects. Now, there are some that are a little bit light work that I know one of my contractors is perfect for, so I might just give him the deal. But more times than not, it's 3 contractors. I bid it all out. I get everybody's ideas and just really plan how this thing is going to look. Like, what do we want the end product to look like? How much time do we think it's going to take for that? What is the budget? Maybe we budgeted a certain amount when we bought it, but we feel like, hey, we think we can do it for less. So that's a benefit you get when you really plan up front, because now you have a solid roadmap. And then every single week, minimum every single week, you want to walk that project and take a lot of pictures to see what's happening, because things are going to inevitably arise that you weren't expecting. And so you got to make those adjustments. And it's not the end of the world. Like when something comes up, I expect it now. Like I know that something's probably going to come up on every rehab that I didn't plan for. But since we did such a great job on the upfront work, not as much will come up, or we won't go too much outside of our budget. So just definitely getting a good plan, and then taking your time with that, and then walking the contractor with the project manager or contractor weekly, and then just not another thing. You don't want to over rehab, but then you don't want to under rehab. So that's a tricky balance where you have to look at the comps. You have to look at what is actually selling, because you'll see some stuff that's like, hey, that thing is super dialed in. I don't think we need to spend that much to get what we want to make this a profitable house. And then we see this other property where it's like, man, they look really cheap, and we don't want our product to look like that either. So it's definitely a tricky a balance of making sure that you're rehabbing for that property, for that project, for that neighborhood.
Correct. Great answer. Yeah, so basically, like he said, know your market area, do comparable, run your comps and try to stay in that area so it's not completely out. As we work in like Compton area compared to different areas, East LA, Palmdale, we wouldn't be doing something that we would do in LA compared to what we'd be doing in Palmdale or Antelope Valley. So, please be knowledgeable about where you are. Okay, so our next one, tip for scaling in a larger and expensive market.
Well, I love this question because I think part of the reason people like to follow me is because they see that I'm having success in a larger market. And I think number one is it starts with your mindset about it. I've said this before, but I'll say it again, which is there's not one company, not one investor that can buy all the investment opportunities. We all have a little bit of a different buying criteria, a different appetite, what's going on. So the first thing I want you guys to do is believe, hey, I can do investment deals in this expensive market, because I'm still buying houses in the $200,000-300,000 range in LA County. Now, not all the deals are that, but some people think that you have to spend $400,000 or $500,000 in LA. You don't. There's other areas that are going to be less expensive, so you can focus on that. And then also is working with the right people on your team, A players, is key to scaling up. If you cannot scale up without the right team members, because you're only one person. So first of all, you need to be that A player. So you need to have great habits. You need to have a great network. You need to have experience. You need to be out there taking action and be all over it and be, what did Gandhi say? Like, be the change you want in the world. So if you want A players, then you got to be an A player. So go ahead and do that, and then you'll attract. Like, I attracted A players to me because I feel like I'm an A player and I'm putting in a lot of work. So mindset and then just getting the right team, I think would be two major keys to having success in a larger, expensive market.
Yeah, and I mean, we're in one right here in Los Angeles. LA is very big and very competitive, and Hawaii as well. So we're able to find success, and I think Alex alluded to it, like, attract to A members. If you're an A player, you want to get aligned with an A player. That's, why Marlon's here. That's why Jay's here. That's why I'm here, is because Alex is an A player and we were A players and said, hey, this is a kind of a good match. So couldn't agree with you more on that, Alex. Diving back again to kind of a beginner stance, what's the fastest way to learn real estate investing?
The fastest way, I think, is to jump all in. I think too many people try to do part-time, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's just you're competing against people that are all in and people that have been doing it for a long time. So I think you need to find a way to allocate a minimum of a certain amount of time. 10 hours is not going to be enough. I mean, you got to be able to go somewhat close to full time to speed up that learning curve, because you're learning so much. You're learning about acquisitions. You're learning about funding deals. You're learning about creative stuff. You're learning about rehab. I mean, that's a lot of stuff to learn. And if you're maintaining a full-time job, that's very difficult as well. How are you going to speed that up? So I think being able to put yourself in a position to work a lot of hours in this business on the front end will help speed up your learning curve. And it'll prove to you that you can do it quicker rather than kind of dibbling and dabbling for like years. I mean, it's just better to go all in if you can. That way you give yourself, 6 months. Hey, I'm going to give this all in for 6 months. If it doesn't work, at least you can go on to something else knowing you gave everything you had for that. So I think just going in deep, just all the way in, and then take massive action. And then once you have enough data, enough results, enough action taken, then you can sit back and maybe consider hiring mentors, hiring a coach, hiring people, paying for programs. I'm just not a big fan of just like you're brand new and then you pay for a $20,000 course. It's just, I haven't seen people succeed that way really that much. So I'm not a fan of that model. I think it's more of just jumping in, putting the work, and then taking action and then making adjustments as you go.
Yes, great answer, Alex. But with that said, you guys, we are not saying to go to work tomorrow and be like, I quit. Like, do not do that. We're not saying to do that, you guys. That's great. But, if you do have a job or something, these are trying times, hence, the topic of our conversation. yeah, just try to keep that job, but put more hours into it. And then, one of my high mentors or someone I look up to is Elon Musk. Sometimes instead of working at 40-hour a week job, you got to do 80 hours or 120 hours, so if you work a 9 to 5, that's your W-2. But from 6 to 11, maybe you should dial in and do real estate, watch these webinars, read a book. Sometimes the more time you put in, within 2 years, it'll pay off in the long run. So again,
let me give another quick example about that, Jay. I'm sorry. I want to give another quick example. So when I was leaving the second investor that I was working for, I got a position to work with the second investment company, and it was an hour and a half drive from my house in Studio City to Torrance. And what I did is I ended up moving out of that place and getting a crappy apartment across the street from the office. Did Airbnb. It was a 2-bedroom, 1 bath. I did Airbnb on the other bedroom, and I went all the way in. I mean, literally, I was there all the time. I was working, 80 hours a week plus, and in a shitty apartment across the street, excuse my language, but, I was committed. I wanted to make it work, and I knew that I had to be close to the office. Otherwise, I would be burnt out driving an hour and a half each way, from Studio City to Torrance. And so that was my way of saying, you know what, I'm burning the boats behind me. Like, I'm not going to fail. But that was a sacrifice because I was living in a nice area of town, in a nice property I really liked. And then I was going to go to some shitty apartment. So are you willing to make sacrifices like that? You have to ask yourself, because people like me are willing to make those sacrifices. And if you're not, it's going to be harder for you to compete.
I think multiple people just loving your guys' advice. Again, I'll give you guys a quick round of applause. That was just incredible. Alex, I think the big thing is, again, thinking of what your time is worth, right? Like, how much do you want to get involved in real estate? I have a 9 to 5, and I told that to Alex coming in and said, hey, I have a 9 to 5, but I can carve out extra time here and there and make sure that I'm committed. Like Jay said, I do the 80-hour, I do the 90-hour work week because that's what's required of me. And that's what aligns to the goals that I've set for myself. So pretty easy to keep aligned when you have those set in the beginning.
Correct. Okay, so back to it. Next one, any tips on homes with septic tanks for flips or rentals?
Yeah, I definitely think you need to do a full inspection and have enough inspection time on that, because what happens with the septic is that sometimes people, or what oftentimes happens is you're not easily going to find somebody that does and specializes with septic. They're usually either pricey or they're booked and they're really busy. So if you are going to lock up a deal that has some septic issues or has potential for septic issues, then you need to lock up the deal with enough inspection period time to be able to secure a good inspector to go out there and inspect the septic, because the septic tank, removal and all that can be $20,000, $30,000. So that could be a really big ticket item. And so I would definitely, and then spend that money on that inspection. That might be $300-400 aside from your normal inspection. So don't cheap out on that, because that could end up, biting you in the butt. I ended up doing that on my last flip, or the one that we're about to list in Paramount, and I got an $8,000 price reduction on a property I would have still bought even if they didn't give me that reduction. But if I had not spent that $300 on that inspection, I wouldn't have known how jacked up it was. Even though it was already part of my numbers, it helped me get another $8,000 by spending $300. You guys see the point?
Yes, and then I have to go back to what I was saying before. I'm really big on quotes. So sometimes it takes 21 days to build a habit, and then 90 days to build a lifestyle. So if you're really serious about, you're here in this webinar, doing this future financial freedom, start today, start at the beginning of the year. It's still January, work those extra hours, do those podcasts, and, in 90 days, believe me, you're going to start seeing results.
Awesome.
Very well, Alex. And well, throughout the webinars, we have talked about sources for finding leads. We have discussed what is required by any of them, but I guess the next person wants to know your opinion. What's your favorite lead source to find leads?
My favorite lead source is the one that's made me the most amount of money the last couple of years, which is internet leads. Now, that's usually Google ads, but there's also Bing ads, Facebook ads. But Google has worked the best for me. But what I like about internet leads is they're coming to you, and they're pretty serious. and they're usually high conversion ratio. So you might get, for every 30 cold call leads, you might get a deal. But for like every 5 or 10 leads, you might get a deal for internet. So, but you need to be a stone cold closer. You need to be great in converting those leads, because those people are sometimes also shopping around to other investors. So it's really important that you have the right salespeople on those type of leads, because we were spending $3,000 a month, and we were maybe only getting 10 leads, 15 leads a month. But think about that. How much is that per lead? I mean, that's like over $100 per lead, easy, almost $200 per lead. But if they're going to result in a property and a deal that's going to make me $50,000, I think that's a fantastic ROI. So I think that, and then right behind that is like, the social media / networking, because, it doesn't require any money, but does require a lot of, just putting a lot of value out there in the world. So those are my top two, but favorite one is definitely the internet leads.
All right, and great answer again, as always. Next one we got from someone. We're starting to answer some of the Q&A. So if you guys want to ask some questions, please make sure to put them in the Q&A box. This one is relative to us in LA, inventory is low. And I know a lot of places in other cities like Seattle is really big on this. If you are having a hard time finding deals that meet your profit criteria.
Yes, we are. We haven't bought a property in almost 60 days, which is uncommon. We've gotten close on a couple, but at the same time, we're not going to just buy deals just to buy deals. We're not going to tie up all this capital. And that's why we're spending more money on the marketing, because we're like, hey, you know what? It's becoming harder and harder to get our own deals through the traditional channels of MLS and social media and networking. So we're just ramping up the marketing. And I want to get to Q2 and start being able to start spending $10,000 a month, because I know that's what it's going to take. And frankly, I just don't think a lot of other people have the cojones to do that. So I know that'll set us apart, and we'll definitely get the right amount of the deals and hit our goals. But I'm not afraid. We're going to market hard this year.
Love it. Alex, we have a great question coming in from Christian. He's wondering, when do you pull permits? Like, what's the threshold between, deciding to pull them and not to pull permits on a rehab?
That's a fantastic question. I'm going to keep it 100 with you guys. We try to avoid pulling permits at all costs, because at the end of the day, it just slows the process down, and it really isn't a huge benefit to the process of doing a flip. However, there are times where you just really need to pull permits. Like if the house is on a main street, I mean, chances are if it's a hot neighborhood and you're on a main street, there's going to be some inspectors driving by at some point in time and seeing your construction. So you're probably going to have to pull permits there. Now, there is also ways where you could just pull like a general rehab permit, and then now you pull the permit, but then you could do other things inside the rehab, basically, right? So there's that. And then there's other cities like City of Compton, City of Gardena, Southgate, that pretty much they're going to be, it's required. Like you're going to have to pull permits for everything, because they're, they look at investors, you guys, as revenue streams. I mean, it sucks that they don't look at us like, people that are helping improve their city and try to work with us and try to make things a little bit faster for us. I wish that was the case. It's not. Like the rehab I'm working on right now in Paramount, we bought that property in August. I mean, it's about to be, this is four plus months in rehab that should have took 60 days. But we bought the property at a great discount, so it's still going to work out. But you have to understand that it's kind of a play by play. It's a game time decision kind of type of thing, where you want to by default not pull permits generally, and then if you feel like, hey, you need to, then just do it and just bite the bullet. But yeah, it can be an extra 2-3 months on your rehab and an extra $5,000 on fees for the permits. Easy. So just keep that in mind when you're underwriting the deal and trying to acquire the deal, because whenever we look at properties that have that potential, where we're like that main street, we're gonna increase our time held, because we know we're gonna have to pull permits, and we're gonna increase our budget for the rehab by the extra permitting fees that we're gonna have to pay. So yeah, I wish I had a different answer for you guys, but that's just the way the game is played.
Great. Thank you so much for being open and transparent. I mean, Alex puts it out there, and that's something I love about this so much. We are open, and Anyway, next question. I do not have any income right now. This was from an anonymous attendee. I can't speak today, you guys, sorry. Anonymous attendee right now, but would like to turn my garage into an ADU. How do you suggest I go about funding the project?
That's a tough one. I don't even have an answer for that. You have no money. You want to turn your garage into ADU. Turning your garage into ADU permitted is going to cost you $80,000 to $120,000. So if you don't have that, and you're going to ask someone to let you borrow that, and then you have to refinance, I think that's a really tough sale. I don't know who's going to want to do that for you. Like, that's going to have to be like a really good friend with a lot of money that wants to do you that favor. So frankly, I think that's difficult. Now, if you want to do it unpermitted and then just get somebody that charge them a little bit less rent to get that cash flow coming in, that would probably be an easier play. But if you're trying to do a legal permitted ADU and you have no money, I don't think you could do it.
Very well, Alex. And well, here continue with the Q's and A's found here in the chat. This next question has to do with budgeting. This person is, how much is a reasonable marketing budget for a new person looking for their first deal?
I think you need to be at least at somewhere at $2,000 to $3,000 when you're just starting out. Because if you don't have enough marketing out there to know what's working and tracking it, and obviously you're gonna be tracking it too, then it's like one of those things that you could spend $1,000 a month, but you might need to spend that for 6 months to get one deal. Or you can spend $2,000 a month, and by month 2 or 3, you probably get a deal. So, but just make sure that you're planning on doing the marketing for at least 3 to 4 months, because that's how much time you need to see what's working and to get that consistent lead flow to actually turn into a contract, into a deal. So I would say a minimum of $2,000 to $3,000.
So Alex, we got a question from Camo High, and he's asking a little bit, more of a specific question, and he's wondering if we wholesale anything. So, for him specifically, Tristan, his wife, is wanting to wholesale some of the deals that are coming onto their table, and Camo High is obviously gung ho, flip. So like, what's your kind of measuring stick? How do you determine whether you hold or whether we flip or whether we kind of wholesale that property to somebody else?
We usually will go by that 2 to 1 ratio, where like we can wholesale it, or something like along the lines of, hey, we typically want to make $50,000, but if we can make like $30,000, a little bit more than half of what we would make, and we're just going to wholesale it, we'll probably wholesale it. But keep in mind, our business model revolves around flipping more than wholesaling, so we don't often come across scenarios where we need a wholesale because we're targeting properties that we're going to flip or properties that we want to buy and hold. So it doesn't really, wholesale, it doesn't come into play in our business model as much as maybe somebody else's. But I would say just if you can get, a certain amount, a quick nickel over a slow dime. I mean, I think sometimes, and it depends on your business. Like, do you need more capital right now, or can you, wait the extra 3-4 months for the flip to happen? Because it just really comes down to a couple of things, not just whether or not you want to wholesale a deal or not. There's other pieces like how much current capital you have, and whether or not you can withstand the holding costs. Because if you flip property, you have to pay the monthly payments and then the rehab costs. So flipping zaps a lot of cash. So if you have a deal that's going to make you some money, then just wholesale it. But it's usually that's how we look at it. If we're going to make a certain amount over the flip, then we'll just do the wholesale. But for the most part, we just don't wholesale that much because we just find flips that we want to do.
All right, great, wonderful answer again. Next question we got from a Jeremy. How do you start estimating prices of large repairs in your market when you don't have a contractor to walk properties with you and haven't done it before? He says, for context, he's in a very competitive market and houses sell in a day or less. Right.
So then you need to start getting familiar with rehab yourself by talking to contractors. It doesn't cost any money to talk to contractors. You need to start networking and then talking to them, and then going to Home Depot and see what material costs are, talk to other investors. You need to start asking questions. You need to start talking to people that do know what these costs are, and that maybe you take somebody to lunch and pay for their lunch and take them somewhere nice. You got to do what you can to learn from people that know this information. I went to go work for somebody. You don't have to do that, but don't think you can do everything for free either. I very commonly will take other investors out and pay for dinners, not cheap dinners either. Why? Because I want to learn from them, and because I'm going to build a relationship with them. So I'm thinking long term. Yeah, I'm paying $100 for this dinner, but that's an investment in that relationship. And then I'm walking out of that meeting with some new information and something that is tangible that I've learned. So just take that approach.
So, I mean, Alex, when I walked into Home Depot, you know, and I actually walked down the aisles, you figure out like, wow, that's how much a vanity costs. Wow, okay, that's how much this costs. Okay, wow, that's how much a light would cost. That, you like, you really can just kind of get an idea on your own so that when you walk back into that property the next time, you know, okay, cool, I need to redo that bathroom. Well, I know I had the choice of those 4 vanities. So if I want to get rid of that vanity, you know, I'm going to at least need the cost of materials and then the cost to install it as well. So I think that's a great way to kind of look at it.
Let me add something real quick to that. I used to always complain to my project managers, like, why do we need to spend $4,000 on a bathroom remodel? I just never understood why it would cost thousands of dollars to redo a bathroom, right? And then I had to do it on my house in Van Nuys, and then it cost close to $4,000. And I wasn't even all the way satisfied the way it looked, and I got pretty nice things. And so once you actually see it for yourself, you understand that how much material costs and how much labor costs, and we're not talking about like regular labor, is the labor cost for just demoing something is a certain amount, but the labor cost for skilled labor to install tile and to do all these other skilled types of labor are different, and you don't know it because you don't do it. So just make sure that you're doing the work to understand on a deep level why these prices are the way they are, and then you're not complaining or underestimating your rehabs or overestimating. Now I'm like, okay, now I understand why it costs. I knew how much it costs, but now I know why it costs that.
Great. Marlon, you up next?
Yeah, I was reading here the Q's and A's in the chat, and right next we have a case, Alex. Let's say that you buy a house in the 500,000 price range. How much capital would you need to do a light renovation on it?
Well, it depends. On a $500,000 house in our market, typically you're going to resell that property around $700,000 to $800,000. So somebody buying a house for $700,000 to $800,000 is going to want nicer things. So first, I would look at the houses that are selling for $700,000 to $800,000 and what are the finishes, what do they all have in common. But more than anything, it's going to take typically a down payment to acquire the property. Normal down payment right now for investment property is 20%. So what's 20% of 500,000? It's $100,000. So that's $100,000 to buy the house, to acquire it. And then a rehab of that size usually is going to be around 50 to 75,000. It could be more, but let's just say 75,000. Be in the middle. 75 plus 100, that's $175,000 that you're going to need a minimum to do that flip deal. So do you want to do that for like $20,000 profit? Probably not. You probably want to do that for at least 50 to 75,000 profit. Typically on that size property, yeah, we want to make 75,000. So I would estimate 20% down payment, and then whatever the rehab cost is going to be. I don't know what that is. We're just using estimates, and that's going to give you pretty much the ballpark figure how much cash you're going to need to execute that flip.
All righty, awesome. Good answers, good questions. It's a great webinar, you guys. Hopefully you stick around a little bit longer. We're wrapping things up, and then we'll be announcing our next week's special guest. It's really exciting. And thank you again for the polls. We did get the results, so we'll be sharing that after, and it helps us, want to, plan what you guys want. We're doing this for you guys, so we want you guys, keep participating every week, and love the interactions that you guys do. We'll do a little picture at the end of this as well. Next question that we got from Akoil Rory. He says he was on a webinar yesterday with an HML. On a webinar with an HML yesterday, he mentioned that for a lot of HML hard money lenders, they will only lend to entities and LLCs. He was saying that those who will lend to individuals are in the minority. Do you find that to be the case?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is they're regulated a little bit different than traditional lenders. So they have different rules that they have to abide by. And so typically they are lending primarily to LLCs, but that doesn't mean that every single hard money lender will only lend to LLCs, because there are also like mortgage brokers that can get private capital for you, that they're not going to require it be in an LLC name. So that just goes back to like shopping around, talking to different investors, talking to other people that give you referrals. And hard money lenders, you guys, some hard money lenders really like funding certain type of deals in certain areas. They have a preference, even though they have money, and a lot of them say, "Oh, nationwide," or "We do this," or "We'll do anything like that." When it comes down to analyzing deals, you'll see how tight their criteria ends up being, or how the pricing won't be as attractive because they kind of don't want to really fund that deal. They don't. So I've had that problem too, because whenever we do deals in Antelope Valley and Palmdale, Lancaster, we're not borrowing a lot of money. The prices are less, and so since these lenders get paid on the loan amount, they want you to take out a $400,000 or $600,000 loan because they're getting paid more money. But if you're asking for $100,000 or $150,000 loan amount, they're not really that excited about that loan. So they're going to give you some shitty terms sometimes. But then if it's a hard money lender that knows that area, that's doing a lot of deals in that particular area, they're going to probably have more competitive rates and terms. So just keep that in mind when you're shopping around.
Yeah, I know, definitely if you do have the LLC, it gets you access to some more of them, but that doesn't mean that there's not lenders out there that are looking to make money. They only make money when they make lends, so they're not going to be able to do that. So really, Alex, we got a couple more questions here in the Q&A, and then we're going to open this thing up. Christian coming in with another really good question here. He's just wondering if you have the capital saved up to purchase a property entirely and fund the rehab, should you just do that all cash and avoid a lender altogether, or what's the best thought there? And I mean, here in Los Angeles, just to give you guys an idea, if it's a $500,000 house with a 50, 60, 80K rehab, you're talking about tying up $580,000 there. So what are your thoughts on that, Alex?
I've had to do that before, but like on my mobile home flip, but I only had to tie up like $40,000, so that's different. But if there's some pros and cons to it, because then you're not going to have to pay points to the hard money lender. So, that's more profit for you. Yeah, you're not going to have to pay a monthly, payment. So, that's good for you. If you keep the property for a certain amount of time, you can maybe do a BRRRR on it and refinance it because you own it free and clear. I think you need to have it for 6 months, but that could be an option for you. So I'm not opposed to it. I just think you have to think about opportunity cost. If you're going to tie up all that money on that deal, and then another deal comes up, maybe you do want to leverage a little bit of that. So then that way, if a second deal comes up, you're in a position to take that one down as well.
Great, awesome. We're going to open up the room here in a couple of seconds. Just a couple quick fire questions for you, Alex. Do we have a script when we're cold calling people, or what do we do with that? Yeah, my script is simple. It's not really what you say, it's just how you say it. Our script is simple. Hey, this is Alex. I was calling about your property on Van Owen Street. I was calling because I have somebody interested in buying the property. How open would you be to review an offer for the property? And so I don't like to say sell property. I like to say like how open, because it's open-ended question. And are you to review an offer, because it just indicates to them like, hey, you're in the power position. You could always say no to my offer. I'm just going to present a proposal, and then you tell me what you think. And it kind of shifts that dynamic to them, like, hey, they have the power to say no. And I kind of like that intro, and it's worked for me. But it really comes down to calling enough and then you'll come across people that are genuinely motivated to sell their property. And that's really what you're looking for, genuine motivation. You're never going to just say something magical and then like somebody wants to sell their house to you at a discount. It's more you find the right people, you have a decent script, and then you don't foul it up, and you ask the right questions, and then you get appointments, and then you move forward on getting a deal. Cool, definitely agree. When Jay and I are on the phones, it's there's that general script, the general idea you want to go into it, but man, if you've ever heard somebody give you a cold call and they are reading off of a script, it's just too easy to tell. So you really do want to kind of keep it flow, keep it nice and relaxed, and you keep it where you're comfortable. So another quick hitter question from you here from Warren, Alex. If you're a newer investor, LLC or an umbrella policy, where are you going? Umbrella policy. I think you're talking about insurance. I don't know. And that's what I thought with the umbrella policy. That's more of an insurance, and I think for that maybe we'll wait till Warren jumps into the room, and we're gonna let people in here. Hector is a little bit confused on your question. What would you recommend for a new real estate salesperson? So we'll have Alex go ahead and dive into those once we get some people here into the room, and we can kind of get you guys a little bit more answers there. All right. Once we do get you in, turn on your screen so we can see you. All right. Giuseppe, what's up, brother? Say hello. Turn on your screens. Turn on your mic. Say hello. All right.
Oh, is that Alex from Adams? What's up, my man? Allison, Alexis, Arnulfo. We have a structural engineer in the house, Mr. Ben Spies. If anybody has any questions about fasting, hit up my man Ben Spies.
Nice. Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining on today's webinar.
We got some
And
new
guys,
people
we have
here.
a big shout out. I want to make sure we get this out. I wanted to shout out Rory. Rory's joining us in the screen right now. I wanted to shout out Jorge, George, Ulysses, and also Andy, our guy Andy. Just wanted to shout those particular people out. They've actually made it to every single one of the webinars so far. So those are folks that are, you know, again, actively taking that step, taking that action. So just wanted to say a big thank you to you guys. I know we have a lot of new folks on the call and don't want to leave you guys out as well. Thank you for coming and thank you for joining. But again, big shout to our guys that have been coming since day one and just continuing to come. So thank you guys.
Awesome. Look at all these handsome and pretty faces. Daniel, Hector, Jacob's in the building. Nice.
Hello, Jacob. Hello.
Gabriella
Everyone.
in the
Glad
building.
to have you.
Oh, what's up, Jack? I know you're out there.
Gabriella had a question for you too, Alex. She's wondering, you know, if she's trying to get started, is it good for her to start cold calling for an agent, a real estate agent, or do you think that she might have a better use of her time?
I think it could be a good experience. It depends on that agent. Is that an agent, you know, a productive agent? Like if there's someone that she could genuinely learn real estate from? Because I like to say, you guys, is that usually there's two hats, there's two lanes in real estate. There's like the residential retail, helping people buy and sell real estate, realtor side, and then there's the investor kind of ugly side, distress, foreclosure, investing, wholesaling, all of that. So just make sure that you're able to learn the residential retail side of it, because it is valuable, but that if you resonate more with the investing side, that you start learning that side as well. And you might not learn it from them, but learning both sides is definitely valuable.
Awesome. Anybody else have any questions? I know Hector, you were kind of wondering a similar kind of question with the real estate salesperson route. Are you thinking about getting your license or what's going on?
I have the salesperson license, but I haven't used it. So I'm wondering like what would be a good route to kind of, because
I think Hector, you're more focused on the investment side. So I would only use it if you want to get MLS access and then be able to look at what's going on in the market. It's very valuable to do that. But just keep in mind, like, if you don't use it, it is costing you annually. So I'm just not a fan of paying $2,000-3,000 a year to be an agent if you're not going to be actively, either using it for access to MLS and really getting after for investment deals, or helping people buy and sell real estate so you can make income there. Because otherwise, you just have the license, you're not using it, it costs you money.
Awesome, guys. If you don't mind just hitting up in the chat, give us a big let's go if you guys are appreciating what we were going over today, all the questions we were asking.
Yes.
And if you guys don't mind, turn on your screens. We'd love to see your screens, and we'd love it if everybody gives us a big thumbs up or a big shaka. We'd love to get a big picture with everybody. This is our Ask Alex community, and we're appreciative of all you guys. So everybody get your phones out and everybody get your pictures ready, and let's do this, all right?
I love you.
Aloha.
Make sure to
Perfect.
Oh, you guys, I got my screen right next to Alex's.
Who else was close to Alex? I'm right next to him, so I beat all you guys.
And then Alex, if you'd like, thank you everyone for participating till the end. Again, we want to announce next week's special guest, Alex.
Yeah, so you guys, I want you guys to tune in next week. I got my great friend from Las Vegas, Vlad. He's crushing it. I mean, this guy made over 100,000 his first year in real estate. He's like in his early 20s, very competitive market. I mean, the guy is just crushing it for his age and just getting after it in a competitive market. So I want you guys to hear his story and see what he's doing to be successful in his first year and at that age. I think it's something for all of us to learn from.
Dude's incredible. I mean, we were on a call with him this morning and he's like, yeah, I got like 3 appointments lined up. I'm taking down a deal this weekend. I think he's a great person for you guys to hear from. We were talking today about the threshold. Like, when does Alex know when to pull permits and when to not pull permits? So this guy, Vlad, that's going to be jumping on next week with us, he's a great example for you guys because he didn't have a W-2 like I do, but this guy was in college and is literally done with college, said, I'm no longer finishing college because he realized, hey, this is the step, this is that threshold where it now does not make sense for me to continue college, but it makes sense for me to go all in on real estate. And he did that in his first year, young kid in his 20s. So I think he's going to be really inspirational for you guys to tune into and hear his story and hear how he's kind of doing things.
Yeah, definitely. I want to shout out a couple more people. What's up, Leora? Hopefully I said your name right. Kayvon, Washington's in the building. Victor's in the building. So I just want to say hi to everybody. Just give you guys a shout out. I appreciate you guys showing up, asking some great questions. And you guys know you guys could always reach me. Oh yeah, Victor there in Palmdale. What's up, buddy?
Thank you, Alex. Thank
if
you.
I missed you, I'm sorry, but I just want to give you a
I
shout
miss
out.
you too, man.
And Daniel too. What's up, my man?
Good.
Guys,
Good
anybody
stuff.
have any last minute
Hi.
questions?
Hi.
Sorry, Daniel, what were you
Hello.
saying?
Hey,
Go
Will,
ahead, Daniel. I
saw
cut you off. What were you
that
saying?
deal. Did you get a chance to look at it? The flip in Norfolk, Virginia?
I'm taking a look at it as we speak. I'm going to give you a call after this. Norfolk
Cool.
isn't really my big location. I'm not that familiar there. But the biggest things you want to know when you're looking at a deal is what kind of property exit route are you looking for? So Camo High was bringing it up earlier. When you get that lead in front of you, are you going to flip this thing? Are you going to wholesale this thing? Are you going to buy and hold? Are you going to turn this into a rental? Because whatever that exit strategy really affects the numbers. Any property, Brandon Turner always says this, and I know he's a big mentor of Alex's. He always says any property can be a deal. It just depends on the numbers. You know, if you're talking about a $500,000 home in Norfolk, Virginia, that's going for $1, it's a deal no matter how you cut it. You could do anything you want there. So, you know, the margins tend to slim depending on which route you're going. You know, if you're doing a flip, you have a little bit more leeway. If you're doing a buy and hold, it's a little bit less. The meat on the bone, it gets less and less depending on the route you go.
Yeah.
So we're going to dive into that here with you after this, Christian.
Okay, cool, man. I'll talk to you after.
Any last questions?
All right, thank you again, you guys. Love doing the poll. We're definitely taking it into consideration and using it in the next coming weeks. Yeah.
Guys, stay safe out there. If you are traveling, stay safe. If you guys need anything from us, you have my contact info. You have Jay's in the chat. You can always get in touch with Alex. We're out there to help you if you guys are getting close to a deal and just need a little bit of eyes on it, like Christian does, and just need that one extra set of eyes. You know, get in touch with us. Let us know. We're more than happy to help out. All right.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
See you on the flip side.
All right, guys. See you in the flip side.
Thank you, guys.
Go.
Bye, Jacob. Bye, everyone. Thanks for
Hey,
joining.
Vaughn, we'll see you, my man. Good to
All
see
right.
you.
Later, brother.
Yeah, thank you guys again.
Thank you, Warren. Appreciate it, man. Stay safe out there flying in the skies. I love that background.
Yeah, thanks. I'll see you guys next week.